Hi friends, welcome to the Inspired Knitting Podcast. I'm your host Bobby and I am coming to you from the beautiful southeast New Brunswick, Canada. Today is Sunday, September the 24th, 2023. Welcome. I promised you guys an outside film and today is the perfect day for it. Usually I would film on a Saturday. Yesterday was a beautiful day too, but I was busy. But I wanted to take advantage of this gorgeous weather. We've been in the 20 degrees Celsius with sun and I've been loving it. So very much enjoying this beautiful fall weather. Are we even fall yet? Maybe not, we're getting there. I got my pumpkin spice, it's supposed to have been a pumpkin spice latte, but Tim's was out of the espresso, so I got a iced coffee that has the pumpkin spice in it. Timmy Horton, love it, and it is super yummy. Very good. So that's what I'm drinking today. I hope you guys have your beverage of choice and you're ready to dive into the podcast with me. Before I get started, I'll just do a little bit of administration, where you can find me and all that. So you can find me on Instagram, where I am most active as Inspired Knitting Podcast. And you can also find me on Ravelry as X Country Girl 1986X. And the best part of all is I always put links to all the patterns that I talk about down below in the description box. So it's direct links to the designers, not my personal Ravelry, because it is just my own personal thing to look back upon. I'm not very good at putting detailed notes or anything like that, so you're not going to get much information from me. But anyways, that's where you can find all the show notes below. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So I'm gonna just jump right into it. I have some finished objects this week and I have works in progress. I would have had stash enhancement, but I forgot to bring it out and I'm not gonna worry about it this time. But Julianne Knitter Twin Stitches Designs, she was doing a de-stash 2 weeks ago and I managed to pick up two pretty skeins. One was Rose Hill Yarns, it was one of her Christmas colorways, and the other one was it's a self-striping. I've never used it before, can't remember. Like I said, if I can remember, I'll bring it on the next episode, but it is a self-striping yarn and it's yellow and brown, so it's very fall-like. I did post a picture of it to my Instagram, so if you want to see, I did post it over there when I received the yarn. So yeah, that was really exciting and really fun. And do check out Julie's Instagram. She is a designer from New Brunswick, Canada, and she's a wonderful designer. She recently just came out with a new pullover, and she's going to be coming out with another one that I am super stoked about. It is it's held with Surrey alpaca, and it's just all the floofiness. It's got a somewhat, I think it has somewhat of a high collar. It's got these beautiful rib sleeves on it. It's just perfect. It looks just perfect. I can't wait for it to come out so I can cast one on. All that to say, let's get into finished objects. So I'm still very much on my sock kick. We have been pretty busy, so I haven't had a lot of knitting time, and when I do, I just want to knit on socks. That's all I really want to do. So I think on the last episode, I had showed my previous pair of Thicksgiving socks. Thicksgiving socks is a pattern by Summer Lee Knits. Absolutely love her stuff. The Thicksgiving pattern has 3 patterns in one collection. So there's a vanilla version, there's a ribbed version, and there's a cabled version. So if you're not familiar with the Thicksgiving socks, you are holding 2 strands of fingering weight together, which is really amazing because you can really stash dive and pull out your scraps, make them as scrappy as you want to, or you can do whatever you want. I think they're pretty awesome. So the last time I did the ribbed version, this time I did the cabled version. And just look at those gorgeous cables. Isn't it perfect? They are knit from the cuff down, and I did a heel flap, slip stitch, heel flap, and gusset. And I can't remember if this is a modification or not. I think that in the pattern, because on my first pair of Thicksgiving socks, I just did a plain knit heel. Now, I don't walk on my socks, wheelchair, but still there are some people that do wear my socks. So I don't want them to wear the heels out. So I did a slip stitch heel flap. It just gives it a little bit more stability. So I can't remember if this is a modification or not. It's just something that I did because I prefer it. But here it is. For my yarns, I couldn't really tell you exactly what the colors. I think they're all Northern Pearl. I'm pretty sure of it because I pulled scraps out. So I know that this pretty orangey color here, this is the Northern Pearl. It was a 20-gram mini. I am holding it with, you can see the lighter orange in there. That is 2 strands of fingering held together. I believe that was another Northern Pearl. That's one I'm not quite sure of. It was kind of a pinky orange. And then for the teal here, it was another one from the Northern Pearl, I'm pretty sure. And I had a 20-gram mini of that, so I held it double with 1 strand of my main color. So my main color is held with 2 strands of Northern Pearl as well. They were full skeins, and I just held them double to have more of a subtle marl. And then I just held the orange and the pink, the orangey pink and the deeper orange together for my toe. So they worked out very beautiful and I love them. I think in the pattern Summer Lee has you doing, like, I use the teal here. You would have done like a stripe of teal here if you wanted to follow her color sequence. I did not do that. I had 2 full skeins of this, so I just wanted more of this color. And I'm just really happy with the way they turned out. They are so pretty. And now I'm excited because I get to wear them. So I casted on, there are 3 sizes in the pattern. I casted on the second size in the pattern. And the only thing when I did try it on, now I hadn't washed or blocked them at this point. This part here where the cable is, it did feel a bit snug. I have pretty thick legs, ankles. I really don't have ankles, but I thought they were kind of snug. So once I haven't washed them yet, but maybe they will fit a little bit better. And if not, well, I have 2 people that fight over my socks all the time, so I'm sure they're gonna get love. So, Thicksgiving socks, Summer Lee knits. I highly recommend you check out the pattern. 3.75 millimeter, I think, or 3.5 millimeter. Pattern calls for a 3.75, but everybody's gauge is slightly different. I think I put it on my Ravelry. So that's the first pair of socks. And also Summer Lee also has her Thickness socks as well, which is another pattern where you would hold like 2 strands of fingering weight together. And I believe there's also 3 socks in that pattern as well. So do check her out. She has wonderful collections. I believe I have purchased every single pattern collection that she has, almost. And she recently just came out with a new collection, and they are slouchy socks. And oh my gosh, I purchased it. I really wanted to cast on. That was going to be my next cast on, but I got distracted, which you will see in works in progress, but they are coming. So my next pair of socks, I actually didn't have these on the last podcast because I had to find the project bag, and I did. So these are my birthday socks. So Agel of the Northern Pearl Hi, Joe. She had dyed up a kit for us. So it had this beautiful green, the purple, and then this main color here, which has the specks of teal and purple in it. And it was called Nomi's Forever. And yes, she is my Nomi forever. So our birthday cast on, we used the same yarn, and I picked the pattern out. So I picked another Summerlee pattern. Surprise, surprise. This was one of her Shorty sock sets, which I will either put on the screen here, or I'll have to put it will definitely be in the show notes. But this is sock, the Brioche sock. So it's not really brioche, so don't get scared. It's just that it kind of has the look of brioche, but there is absolutely no brioche. So very wonderful pattern. Again, we did modify the pattern slightly. So we did a few more rounds for here and here. So don't really want to say anything. I don't want to give away the pattern, but I'll just say that we definitely added some length on the cuff and on the leg there, just so that it doesn't fall off, which again, when you have no ankles like me and your legs are a bit chunkier, it's nice to have that little extra length there. Slip stitch, heel flap, and gusset. And I did modify this again. You're supposed to do this brioche part, so you're taking one of your contrast colors with the mane, and there's supposed to be another brioche section here before the toe. I actually did start it on sock 1, but I accidentally left my knitting out on the table, and it got snagged on something and it pulled the stitches out. And I'm not a huge fan of doing this. I didn't really like it, to be quite honest. So I was just like, okay, it pulled out, it's meant to be. So I did not do that section here. Only thing I would say, if you are doing this section and you are a little bit of a tight knitter like I am, you might want to go up a needle size, because it is a little bit snugger here. That's the only thing I would suggest. But other than that, it is a very beautiful pattern, and I absolutely love them. The colors are just perfect. I just love them. So this is the brioche version, Shorty sock set, Summerlee knits. I will post it down below. So that is my second pair of socks, and I am very excited because I casted these on for my birthday, which was August 15th. So it took me roughly about a month to do them. Now we did move, and we've had lots of stuff going on, but still, it's really nice to get them off the needles, because new shiny things have appeared that I want to do. All right, so I'm just gonna put my next finished object on a set of blockers here. That way I can show them to you properly. So the next ones you guys have seen as a work in progress before. So I casted on the striped Sporty Shorty socks by Forest City Knit Girls, and I finally finished them. I don't even remember when I casted these on. I think it was after the summer sock camp started, I believe. Doesn't matter, but I finally finished them. I now have 2, and they are perfect. So this one, I did follow exactly to pattern. I did the right number for the cuff. I did the straight sequence. And this one does have, yes, this one does have a plain heel on it, which I'm slightly nervous about, but these ones are mine, so it doesn't really matter. The only thing, which is a modification, which was an accident, is that when you start the body of the sock here, you're supposed to do a ribbing texture, and I did not do that. I think the first sock I was yes, it would have been the first sock. I was knitting it on our road trip down here, and I just was following the striping, and I didn't even pay attention to the fact that you're supposed to do ribbing. So by the time I realized it, I was into this plain section here, and I was like, no, I'm just gonna keep going and just do the stripes. It'll be fine, and it is. So if I do them again, I will hopefully remember that I'm supposed to do ribbing. But they are perfect. I love them. Striped Sporty Shorties by 4 City Knit Girls. And the yarn that I used for this is Polka Dot Creek. And this is on their 50-gram yarn couples. So the middle color right here is called Rainbow Pride Snow Cones. And then the darker color is Charcoal, which is, both yarns are 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, 50 grams per color, and it is 231 yards. That shouldn't have been that hard to read, but it was. Beautiful yarn. Polka Dot Creek, I absolutely love her stuff. So I finally knit that up. I was somewhat hoarding it, and it was just time. I wanted shorty socks, and when I saw this pattern, I knew that it would be a perfect match, and it was. So super excited to have got those knit up. So there's 3 pairs of socks that are off the needles, and I am super stoked about it. So what do I want to talk about? Okay. So next we will go on into finished objects, and I think I'll just keep going on with the socks. How about that? All right, so the first sock that I have to share with you, I just casted it on today. So I got the 2 shorty socks off the needles this past week. So I had to line up my next 2 pair of socks because you gotta have all the socks. And Angel has been knitting up a storm with socks, and she made a challenge for herself. She wanted to knit 52 pairs of socks this year, and she's gonna do it. She is already up near the 50 mark, I think. Very close to it. She only had 6 pairs to go, and she's already finished a couple more, I believe. So that blows my mind. That's just incredible. So we kind of have a little challenge that we're both going to take part in next year, just between the 2 of us. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pick out 12 skeins of yarn. So if we want to have a contrast, we can add a contrast, but we're going to pick out the 12 skeins. We're going to put them in brown bags, and then we're going to give them to so she's going to give them to her husband. I'm going to give mine to Kaylee and Wrecker, and they are going to mark like January, February, March for the 12 months. And then we just pull out the bag for January, and whatever sock yarn is in that bag, that's what we knit. We can knit more than 1 pair of socks for the month, obviously, but it's just a fun way to use up, like, have a little challenge, but also use up yarn that is in our stash. And by having them mark our bags, like, they can look inside and see the yarn, but they get to mark which. So it'll be fun. It'll be fun. It'll be a surprise, because we kind of know what yarn we chose, which I will already forget. That's not an issue. I will forget, but it's fun that they get to mark the months, because then we don't really know which one we're getting. So it'll be fun, and I'm excited about that. Anyways, back to works in progress. I casted on a new pair of socks. So I am doing the Thicksgiving pattern, except I am not holding 2 strands fingering together. So I had purchased the skein of Opal this past summer from the Pearl & J yarn shop in Kingston, Ontario. And it is the Opal Extra Large. and it is technically a worsted, although sometimes it looks like a DK. When I look at it, it almost looks like a DK, but we'll go with worsted. And the color number is 11011. And you can kind of see that's the way that it's gonna self-stripe or self-pattern. So I was super excited. I've used opal before, but I've never used the heavier weight. I've only used the sock weight. And this is a, what is the yarn composition? 75% virgin wool and 25% polyamide. And it came in a ball form, but I caked it up so it would fit inside of my project bag a lot better. But it is super, super nice. I really, really love it. So I chose to do, like I said, the Thicksgiving pattern. I am doing a variation between the first and second size. So I cast it on the first size for my cuff. I did 12 rounds. And then once I started on I'm doing the vanilla version. So once I started that first row for the body, I just decreased down to the very first size. So just so it gives me a little bit more room up here. So this is what I have so far, and I think that it's working out very beautiful. So for my leg, I'm gonna do through the color work here. And I think I'm going to do a heel flap and gusset, which is in the pattern. So I think I'm gonna knit through the orange section here, and then once I start with the self-patterning, that's when I'm gonna do my heel, I think. Not sure yet. But it is turning out really beautiful. I just casted this on this morning, and that's how far I managed to get. We went out and did some errands today, so I took it with me, and it made for perfect van knitting. It's just plain vanilla. So really love it. And I'm knitting these on my 4mm Chagus Magic Loop. Normally I would prefer to knit these on a 375, which I did for my other 2 pairs of Thicksgiving socks, but my 375s are on a project right now and I wasn't willing to pull it out, so that's what we're doing. So they should be fine. It seems fine. So that is my first pair. And then my second pair I'm also very stoked about. And I'm actually going to get my tablet out for this one. That way you guys can see. So Nancy Wheeler, hi Nancy, I forgot to mention this. Okay, I have to stop for a minute. So this past Tuesday, I went to knit night at the, I'm not sure if I'm going to pronounce it right, Cavok, C-A-V-O-K, I think that's how you would say it, Cavok Brewing Company. It's in Dieppe, New Brunswick, Canada. And Manon from La Volée Gifts Co. in Bactouche, she hosts a knit night every second Tuesday of the month. Don't quote me on that. I can't remember. It's held every Tuesday, and I believe it's the first Tuesday or second Tuesday of the month. Don't quote me on this. If I remember, I will put it in my description notes below. But if you follow Manon on La Volée on Instagram, she will have it posted there. That's how I found out about it. She posted it to her stories. Nancy shared it to her stories, and I saw it. So it's from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. and it is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful little brewery, which is wheelchair friendly, which I was super stoked about. And I knew that Manon was going to be there. I had talked to her previously, and I knew Nancy was going to be there. I talked to her previously, And oh my gosh, you guys, I was so excited. I got to meet Mana, I got to meet Nancy, and all of a sudden Sophie came down because when you go in the brewery, there's a bar and they have some tables, and then if you go upstairs, there's a mezzanine floor, and that's where the knit group is held. And there was actually a nice sized group of people that were there. So Sophie from Cozy Meadow Knits, she came down and I totally fangirled. I totally fangirled on her, and it was so amazing. All three ladies are so beautiful. I have talked to them online and I watch their podcasts all the time, and to meet them, it was just such a joy. So they made my night and I had so much fun. So I got a glass of wine and I sat downstairs, and they would come between, like they would go upstairs and then they came downstairs to knit with me for a while. So it was just amazing. I had the best night ever. I think we stayed closer to 9 o'clock, which Nancy said they do that sometimes. They do stay a little bit longer, or sometimes they leave a bit earlier. It all depends. But I just had the best night ever. It was amazing. So thank you so much, ladies, for making my night so great. I will not lie, when I first got there, it is a small brewery, so it wasn't that big. But as soon as we got there, I had Kaylee and Wrecker with me, and I almost backed out. I was like, no, I can't do this. And Kaylee's like, yes, you are. And I'm so glad she did, because it was great. But yeah, I just was putting myself back into my little hole of not wanting to socialize. But I'm so glad that I did. It was worth it. So I wanted to put that at the front of the podcast, because it's been the highlight of my week, but I forgot, so tangent. But going back to what I was going to show you is Nancy released a sock pattern, and it was in a magazine, and I want to say it was the Lane magazine, but I'm not sure. But it was released last summer, I think she said, and now it's been released to the general public for purchase. So I purchased my my pattern off of Ravelry, and I'm just trying to get you a picture of it here so you can see how beautiful they are. But it is a fingering weight sock, and it is called the Hexi Diamond Socks by Nancy Wheeler. Oops. Oh goodness, there we go. They are so beautiful. And Nancy was actually working on a pair while we were at Knit Group, and they look even more stunning in person. So I had already purchased the pattern and picked the yarn out, and I wanted to cast on that night at Knit Group, but I didn't get my yarn wound up, which is fine. So I was able to bring the yarn along and show it to her. So the yarn that I chose is actually Deep Stash. I've been kind of hoarding it. I had purchased it off of a D-stash from Ginger Snap several years ago. It is Tina's Twisted Fibers, and I do not know if she still dyes yarn or not. I wanted to check that out before the podcast, and I forgot. So you could check it out. There's her Etsy if it's still there. But this base is a 75% superwash merino, 20% nylon and stellina, 5% stellina, 438 yards, and the colorway is Iris Garden. Very beautiful. And I am super stoked to see the pattern work up. So here is the yarn. It's like a lilac purple. and it's got deeper specks of purple and that copper color. It's just amazing. And I don't know, I think my camera's picking up some of that sparkle. It's a silver stellina. It's just gonna be perfect. Kind of reason why I chose it is because of the stellina, Hexi diamonds, you know, sparkly. I don't know, it was just a perfect excuse to actually use the yarn. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with it, and I think this pattern is just gonna make the yarn shine even more. So I haven't gotten much. I just casted it on the other day. I cast it on the cuff. So the cuff is now finished, and now I get to start on the body of the sock. And yeah, super, super excited. So they are cables, but Nancy said it's super simple. You can actually do it without a cable needle. So super happy about that. I've been practicing more and more with without using a cable needle. So pretty excited to start that. But yeah, we'll see. I might actually work on these tonight. Beautiful. So I'm excited to get those going. And for this one, I am doing the 64 stitch count, just because I think she said that it can be a bit tighter because of the texture. So I decided that I was gonna do the 64 stitch, because usually I would do 56. When I work magic loop, I tend to be just slightly looser. So I think it should work out just fine. All right. So I'm just gonna take a quick drink, and then I will show you my next work in progress. Okay, so the next one that I started is actually a hat. We're starting to get into cooler temperatures, and I decided that I wanted to cast on a hat. Now, I don't know if this hat is gonna be for myself or if I want to set it aside for market or donation. Not quite sure yet, but I don't think it's going to be for me. The yarn is nice, but not really my colors. But here's the hat. It's been squished up in my bag. This is the Oslo hat by Petite Knits, and I really, really love this pattern. I knit it once before. You actually double fold the brim, so it's double thick. Now, something that I didn't realize when I knit the pattern the first time is, so you cast on, and it's just stockinette stitch, which is lovely. And then once you get to the desired length for your brim, you put it together, you join it. And so the really cool thing about this is I just continued, once it's joined, I just continue knitting for the rest of the hat. Well, I realized that once you join it, you're actually supposed to like flip the work, and then you just keep knitting. That way, when you go to put the hat on, this folded brim part would be folded up on the hat here. So I did not realize that the first time I knit it, and I wasn't gonna rip back, because there's where I joined here. I wasn't gonna rip back that much knitting, and I was just like, I don't care. My first hat turned out absolutely fine, so I'm just going with it. But it's a very beautiful pattern. The double thickness is just wonderful. It is a DK weight pattern. I have not had wine, you guys, I swear. But I'm having trouble talking today. It is a DK weight pattern, but I am actually holding 2 strands of fingering together. So I am using Patton's Croy, and this is in the copper colors colorway. They come in 50-gram balls. You can buy it at your local Michael's store. So I just, oops, I got my yarn caught here. Okay, I'm not taking out the second ball, but all I did, it came in ball form, so I just caked the 2 together, and I'm just holding a double, and it creates a beautiful warm hat. So if you've knit with Patons Croix, it does have a more rougher feel to it, but it's still really nice. And with that double thick brim, it's gonna make a lovely hat. So there are several sizes in the pattern. I believe that I am doing the smallest size. Nope, no I'm not. I'm doing the woman's large, medium. There's junior, there's a child size, woman's medium, woman's large, and then a men's. I'm doing the woman's medium. So I think it's the second size in the pattern. So really nice that they offer you some different sizes. So I was looking at it and I thought it looked a little bit large, but once you put it on, it's not, it's perfect. I got a somewhat big head. So like I said, these colors, they're nice, but they're not really me, but I could definitely see knitting myself one of these for sure. And I am knitting these on a 3.5, which, okay, my Thicksgiving socks were knit on a 3.5 millimeter because this is the needle I was using for it. So yeah, Oslo hat, petite knits, highly recommend it. It is a bit slow going because holding the yarn double on a 3.5, I believe the pattern calls for a 3.75. It is really hard on my wrist and I am still having wrist issues. So I haven't been picking this up as much. And if I do, I'm only able to knit like a couple rows on it. I almost got to the point where I frogged it, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that at all. So, Oslo hat, petite knits, great pattern. All right, so I have one more work in progress to share with you. And this one I am also very excited about. I follow the creative knitter. She has a brick and mortar store in Ontario. She is also a wonderful yarn dyer. She is going to be starting a cowl with Mallory Krall. Sorry, right by the road, so you might be hearing that pretty loud. Mallory Krall, who, there's her Instagram tag. So, whoops. So they are going to be doing a crochet along starting September 29th, and it's going to go for 4 weeks, and it is for Mallory's new pattern, which is the Autumn Coastline blanket. And I do not need another blanket, but I want this blanket. It is it is crocheted with chunky weight yarn. So Mallory used, I believe, I think she used the Lion brand Wool Ease or Thick and Quick. Can't remember which one now. So yeah, week 1 of the cowl starts September 29th and runs through the month of October. And it is the Autumn Coastline. I just wanted to make sure. So this is what the blanket looks like. It is these big Hexies. And I believe that she uses 5 different colors for her sample. So I'm just gonna open up my pattern quick here. So she uses 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, she uses 4 different colors, and then you got your color for the border. So if you're at all interested, she used Spice, Petro Blue, Flax, and Succulent. And there's another picture of it. So I think another yarn option that she gave was Burnett Softy Chunky. That is another option as well. So for the yardage, it's specified on Ravelry, but I think that you would need 3 balls. You need 600 yards per color. So that, I can't remember now. I think they're 87 yards per ball. So maybe you would need more than that, but I'm using from Stash. So I have random skeins of colors. I have a mix between the Brunette Softy Chunky. I have the Lion brand Woolies. So I think the only colors that I'm gonna have to go out and purchase is the white or the cream, whatever I choose to do for the border. So the cool thing about this, it is knit on chunky yarn, and it's crocheted with chunky yarn, and it is crocheted with a 10 millimeter hook, I believe. I'm using one size down because that's all I have. Yeah, just go to the pattern, you'll have better luck with that than my info. But here is my first one. I was gonna start with the cap. I was gonna wait till September 29th, but I got impatient like I usually do, and I just really want this blanket like yesterday. So I decided that I was gonna start early. So this is what my first one looks like. Again, it's a little hard on my wrist, crochet usually is, but I got the first one knocked out in like no time at all. It was so quick. So this one here is Brunette Softy Chunky. It's just like a medium gray color. I did not bring the ball out with me, but it's just like a medium gray. So I really don't know what my colors are going to be just yet. I have another ball of this, perhaps two. So there's going to be some of this. I also have a variegated Woolies. So it's got like a light gray with specks of pink in there and green. So I've got that. So I'm going to try to pull from that. So I want to try to find a pretty pink to go in there. These are acrylics, obviously, but something I was kind of thinking as well, I have to go through my yarn and see what other chunky yarns I have in stash. So mine's going to be pretty scrappy. Something else I'm wondering too, although this is acrylic, do I want to just hold yarn double or triple to make a chunky weight? I don't know yet. Something I'm still thinking about, because I really don't want to go out and purchase more if I have all this stash. Like, I actually am trying to work hard to go through some of my stash, so that's something I'm thinking about. But either way, it is very gorgeous. I absolutely love it, and so much fun. It's not hard to do at all. So if you want to wait for the cowl, you can, but if you purchase the pattern, it is a paid-for pattern, you actually get your info sheet, you get the pattern, and also there's two versions, so you could do your border right away, so you could add your border next, or I'm just going to do all of these, and then I'm going to do my border last, because she has a crochet as you go at like the last pattern page. So that's what I'm gonna do. That way I don't have to seam them together. I can do the crochet as you go method. So when I put my border on, I'm gonna connect it to the next. So I think I would rather do that. So that's the option that I chose. So if you wanted to wait for the cowl, it starts September 29th. And like I said, I just started it early because I got super stoked about it and just wanted to do it. And also they did provide a link as well for the Hexies in case you need a little bit of video assistance. So I'm just gonna find a picture here because I saw this earlier today and I think it's perfect. But she also did almost like a Halloween version. So she used like the gray and purple and orange and did a black border. How pretty is that? Like, I want that. Which technically I did just start this blanket, so if I had some, I don't think I got orange. Orange is not really something that's in my stash, but technically I can still do this. I could still put a black border on this thing and make a Halloween themed blanket. What do y'all think? Who knows what's gonna happen. Like I said, I want to try to knit or crochet this thing from stash, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's what I have been up to, guys. There's been some other things, like small things. I did a couple dishcloths. If I can think about it, I'll post a picture of it here. Just Granny's favorite dishcloth pattern. You can find free versions of it on Ravelry, and even if you just Google it, you can find versions of it. I did that. I just used Burnett handicrafted cotton. Can't show them to you because they're already in use. I just wanted some crocheted dishcloths because they are the best. So I can't show you those, but if I can remember, I got a picture. I did do a knitted slipper, which technically is a work in progress. It is a Mary Maxim pattern. It is paid for pattern, but it is, I think it was $3 Canadian. And it's an older pattern, but it's like a booty style slipper, and it's using chunky weight yarn. So I did the first one, and I just have to, our house is still in array right now, so a lot of things are still boxed in that because we're still in renovation stage. So things are getting shuffled around, so I can't exactly remember where it got set down. It's not in a project bag, unfortunately. So I just have to figure out where I put it, but I think I lost my momentum. It took no time to do the first slipper. The first slipper was done within a couple hours, I think. Chunky weight yarn, bigger needles. But I think the reason why I didn't cast the second one on right away is because when I went to bind it off, it is knit flat. So you just knit it flat, and then you do some decreasing, and then you do your cuff, and then you do have to seam the back leg, and then you seam the foot, which is fine. I just did Kitchener stitch. It looks great. The only problem is when I went to bind it off, I was thinking that it would be tight because it's like a garter band for the cuff, and I did like a stretchy bind off, and it made it flare out, and it's too loose. So that means that I already seamed this thing up. So do I just leave it as it is, because it does work? Do I just leave it as it is and just cast on the second one and do the same thing? Or do I pick it back out? And picking it back out would mean that I have to undo that whole seam from the foot all the way up the leg. I don't want to do that. So yeah, I don't know. So I kind of lost my ambition on that one, but I will probably do the second one, and like I said, they're fine. They weren't supposed to be for me. They were a gift to Kaylee, but yeah, I'm gonna do a different pair because, like I said, I really don't want to rip that back out. So probably if I find them next podcast, I'll show them, and if you don't ever see them again, it means I just gave up on them. So yeah. So that's what I have been up to for the past two or 3 weeks. So yeah, slowly getting back into the knitting groove, but there's still a lot that is going on, still a lot that needs to be done. Winter is coming, so I'm trying to help out where I can, and it doesn't take much for me to lose my energy. I get pretty sore, and then I get super tired and cranky. So Princess needs her rest. So I find that I'm watching TV at night and just not wanting to really knit. I just watch TV, which is very rare for me because I always need to keep my hands busy. But yeah, like I said, my wrist is still acting up, so that's also a hindrance as well. But all that to say, I have been doing well, and yeah, I hope you guys have been too. I really wanted to come back on. It is later in the day. We're already towards 6 o'clock, I think it must be by this time, but I really wanted to get this podcast out for you. I think we're in for another beautiful week ahead of us, so it's going to be sunny and nice, but the longer I put a podcast off, the longer I'm going to go without filming. That's just how it goes. So yeah, so happy to have caught up with you guys. And again, a big shout out to Sophie, Manal, and Nancy. I cannot wait to meet you all again next month and just sit down and have a drink and just chat it up in it. That was spectacular. I absolutely love it. And I need to do that more, because I would say over the past year, I have definitely gone into a depression for sure. And although I'm starting to creep out of it, one of my biggest downfalls is that I put myself in my bubble, and my bubble is wanting to be at home. And even when I do go out, I'm very antisocial. So yeah, going to the knit group is gonna slowly open that bubble back up. So that's what I need to do. So yeah, anyways, I'm gonna stop babbling. I'm gonna let you all go. I'm gonna go in and make dinner now. And it is such a lovely night, so we might actually come out here and have a campfire and some knitting time. We'll see. It would be a perfect night for a fire. So I'm gonna let you guys go. Show notes down below, and as always, I'm most active on Instagram, so you can follow me over there. See y'all in 2 weeks, hopefully. So till then, have a good one. Bye.